to talk about a framework, we're going to be talking about a different view of spirituality from traditional spirituality, because that's where the frameworks came from that we feel aren't viable, that are dysfunctional. We are using these frameworks and guidelines that are 2,000 to 3,000 years old, that originated in the various religions and spiritualities on the planet that we think are authoritarian. That's what our book, The Guru Papers, is about. And we feel that all of these frameworks that sound too good to be true, they sound, how can you criticize selflessness? How can you criticize unconditional love? How can you criticize giving, selfless service, giving, all these? Well, that's what we're here to do today. Show you what's wrong with these things that sound too good to be true. The main thing that's wrong with them is they are too good to be true. And so expecting yourself or someone else, or trying to get your kids to live up to something that they can't, creates an inner split and an inner authoritarian and an inner rebel, where the truth of it is there's so much humor here. I feel like I'd almost do stand-up. When you're trying to be selfless and lose your ego because you think that means you're going to be more spiritual, you get terribly self-absorbed. You know, you're always measuring, oh, I've got so much ego, oh, today maybe I have less, or oh, today I was more humble, but, you know, it's all about you. And why are you doing it? It's so you'll feel better, right? So...
You know, that's the spiritual conundrum.
The spiritual conundrum is also so you'll have a better afterlife, or go to heaven, or a better next life. Also, hopefully, if everybody did it, the world would be a better place, and then you'd all be happier. But everybody's not doing it. That's not what's happening. So there's a tremendous amount of blind spots, I feel. So Joel's and my attitude is the ego has a function. It has some drawbacks. But it also has an inbuilt function and it's never going to go away. But every living thing is self-centered to some degree. That's why they eat and make love and bond and form groups, take care of themselves and protect. The spiritual ideal of interconnectedness says boundaries are an illusion. We say no, boundaries are not an illusion. We are both interconnected and separate. The separation in our individuation is just as real as the connection, because they're both real at the same time. It's a dialectic, it's an embeddedness. So that altruism is real, but so is self-centeredness. Self-centeredness has a positive and a negative. The positive is it's necessary for survival, for creativity, for feeling good, for healthy relationships. The negative is it can get imbalanced into war, rape, greed, corruption, etc., etc. But the old spiritual frameworks and the morality that we're all operating under, including atheists and people that let go of the old spiritual frameworks, villainize self-centeredness, calling it selfish, and villainize ego. In a way, thought is also villainized, because one of the goals of spiritual practices is to still thought you can be more spiritual. So we're going to be actually challenging a lot of the frameworks that maybe you came in with, and hopefully not doing it in a way that's disrespectful or reductionistic, because we feel spirituality evolves. And just like Christ and Buddha and Muhammad were reformers and the doubters of their day that were challenging the old and bringing in something more relevant, we feel they're quite old now, and their worldviews that were part of their brain at their time when they created their religions are not the world that we're living in and what we need for this time. So it's time, we feel, to treat all spiritual frameworks not as sacred, which means don't question them because they're too good, they're sacred. We feel it's time to treat all spiritual frameworks as potentially fallible human constructs and see what part of them is viable and valuable today and what part isn't, like we would any other paradigm or human framework.